I love Alex. I think he has a big heart. He's smart. Um, Others might think that he challenges his mom a little too much.
Welcome to WatchMojo's Poppin the Culture, your weekly entertainment fix. And me, well, I'm your host with the most, Mojo, of course. That's right, it's me, Mr. Hollywood himself, Matt Demers. We got such a fun show coming your way. As always, I'll be speaking with Kian Talan. He's one of the stars of NCIS Hawaii. Stick around for that. But first, it's time to jump in to those Hollywood headlines. All right, this is, of course, the part of the show where we like to look at some of the interesting developments out there in Hollywood, dissect it a little bit and break it all down with our own personal opinions. And of course, I need help doing it each and every week. And guess who's back? My man, Cassius Morris is here. Hey, Cassius, how are you?
Matt, what's happening, man? Thanks for having me on the show.
Always excited to have you on the program. We're going to have a little bit of fun talking because I know you do Innersleave, the show all about music over there on WatchMojo. So we're going to have some little bit of fun with some music tinged stuff a little bit later. Let's start with some of the news that has ruffled some feathers of wrestling fans. That's right. I know you're out there, and hey, I love me some wrestling as well. The WWE is under fire for releasing a whole lot of talent. Yes, you may have remembered that they did release a bunch earlier this year when they released a whole slew others. Get a load of this, Cassius. I have a number for you. Over the past year, there's been 83 releases from the company. 83. Now, that includes both on-screen talent and behind the scenes. But some big names went earlier. Bray Wyatt, Braun Strowman, heavily featured on TV. But this latest one that went out, John Morrison's gone, Drake Maverick's gone, Top Dollar, a bunch of them. Before we get into it, and fans are mad because they get so invested. But before we get into it, were you ever a fan of wrestling, or are you now?
I like a couple guys. Like, I'll say for all the people who are actually big wrestling fans out there, I would probably be considered a Fairweather fan. There's characters that I know, like, the classic Rey Mysterio, John Cena. Yeah. Of course, from my music history, I was always a fan of the Demon, which is the guy who dressed as Gene Simmons. Did you know him?
Oh my God. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Listen, I not to age myself, but I remember the old WCW Monday Nitro, WWE Raw, Monday Night Wars, and of course the Demon. Yeah, there was a famous Kiss concert, and a guy came out wrestling as the Demon.
That's a classic one.
It's not a bad idea.
It's not a bad idea, and a lot of people actually, there was a crossover because kids they wouldn't know who Gene Simmons was or who Kiss was. They would just know the Demon. So then when they would see an actual Kiss thing, they thought it was the wrestler. So it was a good brand transfer, if you ask me too.
It was a good brand transfer. What do you make of all these releases though? Because WWE, and the reason why I'm bringing it up, because the rumor mill over the past little while is that they're looking to sell. Right now,
Okay.
Some people think that's unfathomable because Vincent Kennedy McMahon, the man that runs the WWE, well, he's notorious for having all the control. He's turning 71, or he is 71, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, is it time for him to go? They're trying to make the bottom line look good by getting rid of extra talent. I don't know. Do you think that makes sense? It kind of makes sense to me.
It kind of makes sense. I definitely wonder sort of how much profit they're actually retaining compared to past years. I mean, compared to other sports, they're not raking in exactly as much cash. So maybe it has to do with that. Maybe it has to do with wanting some fresh blood. But in terms of selling the company, I think it could go either way. McMahon, if he wanted to keep some involvement, I'm sure he could probably find a tasteful way to do it. But at the same time, when you're, in your early 70s, it's, there's a time and place to sort of say goodbye and step away. And this is getting closer to that point. So, I think that whatever benefits them the best financially will probably be what they do. And in terms of us being able to predict that, that's going to be tough.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. And hey, by the way, WWE has lots of competition recently with a company called AEW, All Elite Wrestling. So they might actually gobble up some of those talent that's been left, but there's a lot. So I don't think they can take all of them. So I don't know. I'm curious out there, if you're watching or listening, which release affected you the most? And are you still watching WWE? Is this angering you?
I mean, some people will be saying real fans are still watching, quote unquote, and then others will, probably be saying real fans are boycotting it. So I'm sure it'll sort of make a little divide within the community, but I guess it'll sort of weed out who's in it for the long haul.
Sometimes the most interesting storylines within the wrestling world is not what's on TV, but what's behind the scenes.
Exactly. Message boards, I'm sure, are jumping right now with posts.
Absolutely. Okay, let's get into something. I love some nostalgia, and there's a new. I thought it was a movie. It's actually a mini series. It's coming out. It's called Pam and Tommy.
I thought it was a movie too until I really watched the trailer. Yeah.
Yeah, it's coming to Hulu. It's a mini series, which is kind of cool. I like this. They're gonna kind of stretch out the story. So we're talking Pamela Anderson and Tommy Lee. Now, the reason I'm mentioning nostalgia is because I remember they were quite the it couple back in the mid to late 90s, and there was a little tape that got circulated that some people saw. So that's all about their intimate tape that got leaked. Do you remember this story? Or I don't want to ask you. I don't want to ask if you saw the tape.
No, I'm aware of it for sure. Heard of it, and I think it's interesting because when I first heard about this, I cringed. I got to be honest, because I was just like, how good could this be? Is this even necessary? But really, after further thought, I mean, these rock and roll guys, they're sort of, I mean, we talk about, WWE and superheroes, guys like that. These rock and roll guys are, pretty much at that level. I mean, for a lot of people, there's, Superman, Batman, and Kiss, for example. And, a band like Motley Crue definitely, I think, has crossed over into that threshold of legendary character icon. So, at first I thought it was kind of silly or my eyes were rolling a bit, but thinking about it, I think, we should tell these guys stories, and all different types of variations of those stories are probably called for. I don't know, Matt, what do you think of this?
Well, I was the same as you. I'm like, oh no, is this exploitative? Kind of is a little bit, but if you
not
watch
more so than the tape, but
if you watch the trailer, the focus is on how it even got out there, right? Seth Rogen is playing, and it's very shady. These characters that you're seeing who got a hold of this footage, and then of course pumped it out into the public. So I'm interested in that. And then also I should mention the stars who are playing our duo. It's Lily James, who is like, I don't know who did the hair and makeup here, but she's a dead ringer. Yeah, as Pamela Anderson. And Sebastian Stan, who you mentioned superheroes. Well, people would know him as the Winter Soldier. He's now stepping in the role of Tommy Lee. Did you watch? Netflix had a movie. I forget what the name of it was, but Machine Gun Kelly.
The Dirt.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yes.
And Machine Gun Kelly did a fantastic young Tommy Lee.
He definitely did. I in the back of my mind, I was wondering maybe like why didn't they put MGK as Tommy in this movie? But it'd be interesting if through every Tommy Lee movie he became that guy now. But whoever, what was the guy's name again? The Winter Soldier who did it?
Sebastian Stan. Yeah, he's a good actor. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean he looks really good as Tommy too, and he seems to sort of have that energy and that the speech down. So I'm actually curious to see it, and the fact that it's a series, it gives me hope for the writing that there's going to be some entertaining stuff to sort of keep us hooked in, maybe different parts of this plot and the storyline that are not just about, the parts we already know. So I actually have some faith for this series after, thinking about it and watching the trailer a little deeper, I got to say.
Yeah, me too. So we got to wait a little longer for those that are curious, February of 2022. So
okay, it's
the hype train is slowly moving. So time to jump on board. Hey, speaking of the hype train, I got to mention this because by the time this episode drops, Cassius, a lot of people will have been fully delved into a little show on Disney Plus called Hawkeye. Now, of course, this is part of the Marvel cinematic TV universe, whatever you want to call it at this point, which is, and I want you to chime in on this because right now those Marvel shows that have come to Disney Plus have been uber successful. Loki, WandaVision, just gangbusters, like huge numbers. And I wonder, is this kind of the future of Marvel? Because they do the movies too.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And they're still doing okay. Like we're still in the COVID box office era, but what do you think? Because the people love these Marvel shows.
I think there's really something to that. I think we talked on a past episode about the fact that, superhero movies had basically devolved into remakes, and unoriginal content essentially for
Sequels,
a long
spin-offs, yeah.
time. Exactly. Sequel, spinoff, you name it. I think now that, especially with the rise of OTT television and the fact that it's becoming so much bigger and so much more widely accepted, I definitely do think that brands are going to continue to creep into this space. And I'm also very curious to see how it affects the big screen market because, as the small screen becomes a lot more competitive, a lot more of a busy space, I'm pretty sure that people on the big screen are going to have to do something to keep up with that and to adapt to that. So my hope is that we might get more originality throughout the entire genre by seeing some of these big changes, but I could be wrong.
No, I think you're absolutely right. And I think when Disney Plus gets these shows, they're going to mine the creative landfield to get these interesting characters, right, that you wouldn't put on the big screen. And I think that's great because you're going to get originality, new stuff, not the same old, same old. So I don't know. It's interesting. But as far as Hawkeye goes, I like that character. This seems to be more of a grounded approach. So don't look for too much theatrical stuff. It seems more like, he's on the ground. You see the trailer, and I'm sure a lot of people have already watched the first episode, but I kind of like that take where it's kind of based in reality instead of like the super, cosmic stuff that we've been getting a lot of.
Do you prefer that? Like a movie like The Joker, for example, where it was like more so like the real person behind that character?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That's kind of why, like, if I was to pick a superhero that I want to read about or watch the movie above all others, it would be Batman. Because I feel like it is gritty, it's grounded in a sense. Yes, you have these over the top characters, but you mentioned the Joker and the stuff they do with the Batman movies, some of them, where they take it to that kind of genuine, realistic. What would that world look like with a vigilante dressed like a bat? I love that, and it's all very psychological at times. So yeah,
it's true. It pulls you in deeper, and I think part of the appeal of movies like this in general is the idea in the back of your mind that, like, oh, if the right set of circumstances came, and, like, I guess for Batman there was a really rich guy, maybe this could actually happen, rather than a magical spider bites you and you transform. That's a little less in the realm of possibility. So yeah, I see what you mean.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Cassius, don't go anywhere. Me and you know the drill by now.
We know the drill.
We got to go beyond the list. All right, so what we do, Cassius, on each and every episode is I go deep in the vast archives of WatchMojo. I like to pluck out one of those old top 10 lists and go beyond the list with our own personal opinions, have a little debate, little discussion. Of course, did WatchMojo get it right or wrong? I teased at the top that I was going to do some sort of stuff related to music. Well, here we go. Top 10 rappers and hip hop artists turned actors.
Okay.
So a lot of times, and by the way, this list is I talk about going deep in the archives. This is coming to us from 2012. So there's likely a lot of additions. So if you are watching and listening, definitely let us know if any got missed.
It's an evolving list.
Hey, maybe WatchMojo will do a redux. I love when they do that. Okay, let's get started here because there are some interesting rappers and hip hop artists, and they always got that swagger that I think sometimes translates really well to the screen. Let's see how these entries do. Eminem clocks in at number 10. Marshall Mathers, of course. He was in, what was the movie? 8 Mile?
Yeah, 8 Mile.
That's the only one. He's done some cameos actually in a few other movies, I think.
I do know that he just got cast actually in an upcoming show with, I think, 50 Cent's doing the show. So he's playing some sort of notorious gangster, and yeah, just cameos though through the years. What was that movie where James Franco was an interviewer, and he interviewed Eminem? There's a couple of those things.
Yeah.
That was a classic.
You're right. No, and he's got a good sense of humor.
Yeah,
Eminem.
He may not expect.
No, he's got that kind of deadpan way about him. But when he was in 8 Mile. I know he's playing himself, and I know it's his kind of story. But hey, I was impressed. I thought the man could really shine on screen. So I'm actually really excited. I'm gonna go. You got me excited to kind of research this new thing he might be popping up in. So
yeah, it might be the new Power book. whatever book. I think they're on book 3 now. So
yeah, people love that Power series. People that I
it's an
talk
awesome
to.
show.
Yeah. No, and it doesn't look like it's going to stop. Hey, you mentioned 50 Cent. Well, he comes in at number 9 here. So yeah, and again, he's done a lot of things. He was in a movie, and I think it's listed here. Oh yes, not a lot of people saw it, but he actually dropped 54 to 55 pounds to play a football player with cancer. The movie was called All Things Fall Apart. And I remember this, and in the movie, like I said, not a lot of people saw it it was very much under the radar, but I was like, wow, the dedication that he had to acting to do all that, transformative, and actually put out a good performance.
No, that was a shocking transformation. And I mean, 50 Cent, I mean, again, another actor that it's very surprising just how well he can deliver. I mean, I know what you mean about Eminem when you said, the guy's playing himself. How hard can it really be? But I think that, you can sort of tell when somebody has an aptitude for acting and they sort of give it that sincerity that really feels honest. And I mean, 50 Cent definitely does that. Get Rich or Die Trying, the movie where he had cancer there. Just definitely a really good act. And even in his music videos, he would go back and do skits. He can really do those faces to really sell you on that. So a very impressive person in the entire entertainment space, if you ask me.
Yeah, definitely. All right, Ludacris clocks in at number 8 here. He was in obviously the Fast and Furious films. He was in the latest one, kind of doing like the comic relief stuff. But I don't know, he's entertaining. I don't know how much range he has.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, great way to put it. I don't see him in the same light as maybe an Eminem or 50 Cent for the acting because we haven't seen him really. I mean, I'm sure with the exception of a few scenes in Fast and Furious, really, really turn it on and become very serious. Like you're saying, sort of more of a comical joke character at times. But definitely a talented rapper. Definitely a guy who, if I had to pick from one of the two, I'm going with the rap for Ludacris.
Yeah, I think so too. And I'm surprised that well, like I said, this is a bit of an older list, so I would have probably plopped him a little more to the top. Number 7 is Ice-T. He is, I don't know if this at the time he was on the Law and Order, but he's on there now. And I kind of like Ice-T as an actor. I think he's got this really interesting persona. And it translates really well to screen where you just kind of want to watch him. He's got that voice, he's got that look. What do you make of Ice-T?
I totally agree. He's one of those guys with one of those trademark voices. And I think that if you have a trademark, like a cadence almost about you that is very recognizable, it's almost like you can get away with not being the most skilled actor in the world. You just sort of have to sell your cadence and in your delivery. So I think that gives him a lot of wiggle room. I think it's like you're saying, it's entertaining to watch him on screen. He has a voice that's sort of captivating. So yeah, I mean, I think he makes sense on the big screen, the small screen, and definitely just a guy that is engaging and a very unique person.
Who's his girlfriend?
Coco, right? Yeah. They had that, and so they had the reality show too.
Yeah, that's the thing. I didn't see the reality. I think I've seen promos of it, but
yeah. And I mean that all of the characters that he's doing, whether he's acting or not, it's pretty similar. Like he's basically just being Ice-T, like Ice-T with a badge on, Ice-T in a reality show. So, I mean, hey, sign me up. I wish I could do that.
Yeah. Number 6 on this particular list is Snoop Dogg. That's right, Snoop Dogg. I guess in here they're highlighting him in Starsky and Hutch, which I do remember seeing. I do remember being I don't know if he's done much else. I think he has popped up and stuff. But again, another guy with a personality. I think if you're gonna, sometimes you if you're a casting director or you're a movie person, you're like, oh, I need a Snoop Dogg type, right? You gotta get Snoop Dogg. That's the thing. There's only one Snoop Dogg.
He's probably available for the right fee. I mean, looking back at his stuff, the one movie that he did that I found sort of funny, and I this is sort of like the modern day Cheech and Chong, was a movie he did with Wiz Khalifa called Mac and Devin Go to High School. And that was a movie he did that was based on, it was like a concept movie based on their album where Snoop and Wiz were in high school and basically just smoking a ton of pot. But it was a funny movie and basically just Snoop playing himself. But again, I mean, even back to the Gin and Juice music video back in the day.
Yes.
Sort of doing skits and he just, maybe sort of similar in the Ice-T sort of category where it's like whatever situation you put a guy like Snoop in, it's more than likely to be captivating and sort of keep your attention at least for a while. So yeah, I got to hand it to Snoop there, Matt, for sure.
And he knows his audience, of course.
He knows what they want, and he does it
knows
well.
what they want. Number 5 on the list. So we're at the halfway point here. Most deaf. Yeah, not going to disagree. I mean, they're listing some of the films that he's been in, and it's jogging back some memories. The Italian Job, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, 16 Blocks, Be Kind, Rewind, Cadillac Records. Yeah, these are some great movies, and these were some great portrayals.
And Dexter, wow.
That's right. Yeah, he was also in Dexter. You're right.
That's pretty crazy. No, I mean, most deaf, it's, when you're at a certain level in your craft, it's pretty crazy to picture that you could spend time doing much else. I mean, probably one of the most acclaimed lyrical rappers to, probably ever be around, at least from his era. And the fact that he can sort of juggle that as well with, being in different shows and movies, it is very impressive.
Yeah.
He's an interesting guy for sure.
Yeah, not going to disagree. Let's see who's better than him, because I think maybe he would have been a little closer to the top. Next up, we have LL Cool J. Okay.
Of course.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've seen LL pop up in a lot of things. What do you make of LL Cool J? He's NCIS Los Angeles. They're listing the sitcom In the House. Yes, I remember this.
He's a good cop on camera. Like he definitely has that look of laying down the law. And yeah, I mean, just a dude who could be very serious. And again, like I think a lot of these guys, when you watch their music videos, it is a really good telltale sign as to how well they would do with acting. I mean, you think of like a video like Mama Said Knock You Out,
Exactly
bringing up that
thinking of.
intensity. Exactly, right? The intensity that, he has that look on his face. This is a guy you don't want to mess with. So yeah, I think that these casting directors probably can get a sense that, okay, this could be, probably not too hard to transfer to the small screen or even the big screen.
I think we're seeing a lot of them play cops.
Yeah, a lot of authoritative figures, which is, you got to go with people's strengths, right? Go with what you see them.
You're intimidated by these guys. You're intimidated.
Exactly. There you go.
Number 3 is Ice Cube. Ice Cube.
Of course.
Yeah, straight out of Compton was where he came out of, but he's been in all kinds of things. Boys,
21 Jump Street.
21 Jump Street, so great. The Friday film series. Hello, should we say any more? No, Ice Cube's done a lot, and people seem to enjoy his movies. Tend to do well, right? Even the kiddie stuff.
Oh yeah, I mean, Are We There Yet? That was definitely a childhood favorite of mine. Yeah, I mean, this guy is something else. A lot of people in the sort of the straightforward hip hop community, they rag on him. They say, "Oh, you're not really from the streets," or whatever the case may be. You talked about all this stuff in NWA, and now you're quote unquote soft. Look, if soft means getting global appeal, tripling your income, and tripling sort of your skills, then I want to be soft too, because at the end of the day, Ice Cube, he went from being sort of a cult hip hop guy or somebody, if you're really into it, to a household name. So you can't really fault him for that. I mean, tell me if I'm wrong.
No, you're not wrong. And I think I always like when an artist will do different things, right? So just because he does a children's show doesn't mean he can't do something else, right?
Exactly.
There's something called broad appeal that I think a lot of these people tap into. Queen Latifah is number 2 on this list. I mean, it's honestly, I think of her more now as an actress. Rather than a singer. So sometimes the translation is so good that the acting kind of takes over their career. But of course, I mean, she's a great hip hop artist as well. But yeah, she's been in all kinds of stuff. Spike Lee's 1991 flick Jungle Fever highlighted here. Chicago, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nominated for all kinds of Academy Awards.
Big movie.
She was in something called Taxi with Jimmy Fallon. Did you ever watch that?
With Jimmy Fallon? No, I didn't see that one.
Okay, I don't think critics liked it that much, but it has a little bit of a soft spot for me. I thought it was pretty funny. But yeah, no, she could do comedy and she can do serious, and of course she can sing on screen. So I don't know. Queen Latifah?
I think she's great. As I continue to go back and find out more about her, she continues to impress me. She has, rap skills, singing skills. I mean, even in the musical space that she was in, she always found a way to be broad and diverse. And, it's one of those things where she's an example of one of the people who did many things where it worked. You know, people who try to do it, they'll say, well, it worked for Queen Latifah, it worked for Will Smith. And the beautiful thing about people who go ahead and do that and take that diversity in their career is that they're not asking for permission from anyone. They're just doing it. And I think Queen Latifah is a great example of that. And I definitely respect that.
Yeah. And she's also a skilled host. She's
Exactly.
done, award show hosting. I think she had a talk show at one point. I think she's very personable. People just like, people respond to her. So I think that's great. You
100%.
mentioned, you dropped a name. And I was like, wow, I can't believe he's not on this list. Well, he's number one, folks. It is
go.
The Fresh Prince. Will Smith is number one on this list. Rapper, hip hop artist turned actor. Okay, I'm not going to disagree at all. And like Queen Latifah, I now obviously look at him as more of an actor than an artist. When was the last? Has he done any music recently? I think he's kind of left that in the past. Has he not?
I think he did a song that was kind of a joke. It was like a diss track towards his son, but it was part of a YouTube video. So I think he still has fun with the music, but no, you know, probably the best to ever do it. If you think about his range, even in acting, you know, I Am Legend, Fresh Prince, you know, Hitch. I mean, these are all movies that are completely, you know, different. And it's cool to see the fact that he can really, really sell it, and a super talented family. I mean, look at his kids. Look at Willow Smith now with all the stuff she's doing.
Yeah, no, you're right. And this is actually kind of timely because he's got a movie out right now, brand spanking new, called King Richard, which is getting all kinds of Oscar buzz, where he plays the father of Venus and Serena Williams.
Oh, wow.
And it's all about, And I didn't know the story going into it. And I thought, Will Smith playing the father, what's going on? He is such a great actor, and he was able to really kind of tap in. I forgot that I was watching Will Smith, and I think that's the key to these performances that he does. But he also did Ali. Remember the Muhammad Ali?
Yes,
one?
Ali.
And he did that one about
happiness.
Yeah, that one about concussion where he had the accent. I mean, he's a great actor, and he all the way from The Fresh Prince, which I think is a beloved show. Anytime I see a rerun, I gotta watch it. It's so great.
So many trademark moments. I mean, like when each character has sort of like either a move or a catchphrase that people are waiting for, you know, that's an example of something great. And, you know, even his YouTube videos now, I think he's doing the most fit I've ever been in my life or something.
That's right. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, he got in like really great shape. Yeah, absolutely. So
climbing the tower in Dubai. Yeah, this guy's a legend for sure. So definitely deserves the number one spot if you ask me. But I got to say, Matt, where's Drake? Where's Drake on this list? No honorable mention?
No, you're right. You're right. I think, and that's what I was getting at the beginning, is that 2012, so there's obviously some omissions. You nailed it. I think Drake would be a perfect addition to this list. Any others? I don't know. I can't really think of much else. I think a lot of these people are still doing movies and shows. So
that's the thing. And I mean, I definitely think it was a very good list in general. I don't think we missed too many people. And if we did, maybe they're not that memorable, because at the end of the day, like, I think this is pretty much it. So good list, WatchMojo, but definitely the Redux. We're going to need Drake on there for sure.
We're going to need it. Okay. Did WatchMojo miss any? Did we miss any? Drop it in the comments. I want to hear what other people think, Cassius. I don't think so.
I don't think so. Although I have to say, Kanye West gets an honorable mention from me personally for the skit that he did with Kobe Bryant. That was hilarious. And if you haven't seen that, I definitely recommend it.
No, I definitely did. Cassius, it's always a pleasure having you here on Poppin the Culture. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks so much for having me, Matt. It's a pleasure.
All right, folks, it's time for our Mojo Chat of the week. The show is NCIS Hawaii, and I've got one of the stars here to tell me all about it and so much more. Kian, how are you?
I'm good. How are you, man? Thanks for having me.
Hey, thanks for being here, and I'm smiling because I'm excited to talk about the show. You know, the NCIS franchise is huge. People love these type of shows. Clearly, it's been on for a long time, and there's all kinds of spin-offs. This is the latest one. What makes this one so different?
Well, I think NCIS Hawaii compared to the other NCIS franchise is definitely, they show more of these agents' personal lives, which I think is so cool.
Yes.
Like they really go deep down into their lives outside of being an agent, which like makes you want to root for them even more. And Also, my mom on the show, played by Vanessa Lachey, is the first lead of an NCIS franchise, which is amazing.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I'm so glad you talked about the kind of the personal life of those characters, because that's where, well, your character falls in. Describe him. How would you describe him? I'm always interested in how the actor sees their character.
Well, I love Alex. I think he has a big heart. You know, he's smart. Others might think that he challenges his mom a little too much, but just a little bit. But it's because they're like the same exact person, you know? And so when you have two people that are the same, they butt heads all the time. So I'm definitely not the favorite child.
The show is filmed in Hawaii, right? Like we're not faking it.
Yeah. No, we're not faking it. I'm actually in Hawaii right now.
I say this because, well, I'm in Canada, and there's so many, my city, and if I travel to say Toronto or Montreal, those cities, they all double for like New York or whatever. So
yeah,
but I think it's always cool when you do a show like this in the actual setting. So that must be, I mean, is that where you were born and raised? Is this?
No, so I was born in New Hampshire, but I was living in New York City when I got the job offer for this. So it's like,
oh wow, okay,
two different extremes, you know.
And what's your experience like now, living and working, I guess you should say, in Hawaii?
It's so different. People here are so kind, and like the priorities that they have are so different from people from the East Coast. You know, it's very family oriented here. So it's been nice to kind of like slow down, change that mindset of like, you know, work isn't everything, you know, and prioritize relationships, which is a big thing here. So I'm blessed that I got the opportunity to kind of experience the whole culture here.
If I was to visit or make a trip down to Hawaii, because I haven't been, what would you recommend I go see?
Oh, okay. So I went snorkeling for the first time in the North Shore. And bro, when I tell you it changed my life, it did. We like swam with sea turtles, went like cave diving. It was crazy. So I would recommend doing that for sure.
Okay. I'm not usually a fan of getting my hair wet, but I think I would do it. If I went to Hawaii, I'm one of those guys. I know. Okay. We talked a little bit about that NCIS franchise and how big it is and all the spinoffs. Were you familiar with it? Like, did you watch these before getting the gig?
No. I started watching it when I got the audition, obviously, just to get like the pace and the tone of everything. But I've never been like a massive, like avid NCIS watcher. But now I'm kind of like hooked because I didn't realize how satisfying this, like each episode is, you know? It's basically like you watch people do all the work and you just go along with the ride. And there's always, you know, a beginning and then the solution to the end, which is like, I don't know. Now I'm like kind of hooked to it, to be honest.
No, exactly. I was actually going to ask you, what do you think it is that makes these so popular? Because they really are. And I think you nailed it with the satisfaction and these kind of, you know, built-in stories. Each episode, you get the beginning, middle, and end, but then there's like the through line with all the other drama and stuff that's happening. So good stuff there. Speaking of which, I do want to touch on, there's an upcoming episode 9 of your show, NCIS Hawaii. And we're dealing with some interesting themes here, some timely things to do with racism and things like that. What can you tell us about that particular episode?
So episode 9 is like one of my favorite episodes we shot so far. Basically, in this episode, you will see kind of we're a Filipino family, you know, on mainstream media, and we talk about racism issues that it's kind of like a weird family dynamic because my mom, she has different opinions on what I think, obviously, because we experience different things. So we kind of go on this journey to get to common ground and be true to our experiences with racism. And it's actually pretty funny because I've never had a conversation with my parents about racism in real life, you know? And so when I did experience it, you know, at the age of Alex, I always felt like alone. Like I was the only one going through it. So I hope that us having these conversations on this show will open other families to have, you know, the conversation as well, because it could be, it's a really lonely thing. For some reason, you know, Asian American families kind of stay away from that truth to try to protect like their kids. So
yeah, no, I love that. And I really do like when TV shows and movies tackle these things and they have those things spotlighted, because you can learn so much. Like, honestly, I learned so much from TV and movies. And it's about time we have these different perspectives on our screens, right? From all over the world and all the different cultures and everything. Because listen, if you're not exposed to it, how will you know and how will you learn? So I think that's great. I'm going to keep my my eyes open. And if by the time you're watching this, that's already aired, make sure you go back and check that one out. Kian, I want to shift away from the show for a second. I kind of want to focus on you. I mean, this is a big role for you. What are some of your career aspirations? Is acting kind of what you want to keep doing? Is there other things that you have on your list? I mean, you're just a young kid, but
you know, definitely grow as an actor, for sure. But it's always been a major passion of mine to, you know, get more behind the camera in terms of writing, producing, bringing more Filipino American stories to life, because I just don't think there's a lot. You know, when this job came around, I was like, oh my God, like I've never seen a Filipino family on mainstream media ever. And so I was super honored that I get to play Alex and be part of this family. But I also want to give more opportunities to, you know, Filipino creatives, because that's a big passion of mine.
Yeah, no, and I think it's definitely needed, and I would 100% look for that. What about hobbies? What about things that you like doing? I'll set you mentioned snorkeling. Anything else?
Yeah. So I used to play volleyball, and Hawaii has like the craziest volleyball scene in the world. They play every single night. So I just go to the beach and go play every night, watch the sunset. That's like my main hobby right now.
Hey, beach volleyball. You can't beat it. That's awesome.
I know.
Well, Kian, I can't thank you enough for joining us here on the program. If anyone watching or listening wants to follow you and see what you've got coming down the pike, where can they go? Are you on Twitter, Instagram?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram, Kian Talan, and then Twitter, Kian Talan. So yeah, come follow me.
Absolutely. I'll be there. Thank you so much for helping us pop the culture.
Thank you. So.
Well, that's going to do it for another episode, everybody. My thanks to Cassius and Kian for joining in on all the fun. And of course, thank you for watching and listening. Until next time, I've been Mr. Hollywood, Poppin the Culture.